Welcome back to the channel, my friends. Today's video is all about mythical and creative confidence. Now, what I mean by that is coloring Kerby's mythical pages without fear. And in today's book, I am working in Mythical World and I'm using Prismacolor pencils. Now, I'm going to go through my process with you today, run through all my little tips and tricks and little creative decisions that I make along the way in order to make Kerby's pages enjoyable and so much fun. Now, today I am starting with a light layer of blue. I am going to make this a background nice and light blue. So I am envisioning coloring a daytime scene, if you will. A lot of the images that I have seen on Pinterest of this particular page are nighttime. So I've decided to go with the daytime. Now, when it comes to backgrounds, there are many different mediums that you can use. On this particular occasion, I am using colored pencil because there are so many little bits and bobs and little tiny little areas to get around. We don't have any huge open spaces, so I find colored pencil is perfect for this because it's just going to take so long to mask up all those little details. So pencil, you just bang, you're ready to go. So I'm using a layering approach going from light to dark. You can also do it the other way if you like. You can choose your darkest color and go to the light. Now, I have chosen one of my favorite blue combinations that I have in my little color combination book. So one of the things that I do to approach a Kerby page with creative confidence is I pick color combinations that I already know and love, and also color combinations that help support the vision that I have for the page. Now, with this particular page, I did have a reference photo on hand, and I will put that up on the screen, which I grabbed from Pinterest. Iana is a Brazilian mythical character from their folklore stories. Now, I will pop up a little bit of a spiel from the back of Kerby's book. I really wanted to bring out her Brazilian heritage, and a lot of the images that I found, she had beautiful black brown flowing hair, beautiful golden skin, and I really wanted to pay homage to that. Even though the blurb that I will show you up on the screen says that she has green hair, her hair is going to be black brown today. So continuing with our layering for the background. So I went through with a light green. All I'm doing is I'm building up the tone of the blue and layer upon layer upon layer. Now the background did certainly take me a while, but now I'm starting to build in some shadows. And what I'm going for is a slight dappled effect in the water. I'm not trying to make it one flat color. I want there to be a little bit of dynamic movement across the page. And so I'm going with some aquarry tones, and I'm going as lightly as I can with my pencil because I do need to apply so many different layers to this background. And I remember that even after I finished this, I could have gone lighter yet again, but that is okay. Your Kerby pages don't have to be perfect. There will be mistakes, and I even make mistakes as well. Now, I certainly don't claim to be the most perfect colorist. I make mistakes all the time, which I think is all part of the journey. So it's all part of it. Now, if you are interested in today's color combinations or color choices, I should say, I will leave those in the description below if you would like to follow the same color placement. Now, if you have watched my videos for a while, you would know that I don't necessarily leave the exact color placement and the exact combinations. I'll more so give you the color choices and the color families so you can make the creative decision for yourself. So today, as per the reference photo, we are going with a lot of rich browny oranges, rich reds, some bluey greens, all of which are my favorite color choices, and also with this colored hair combination as well. They are my favorite, so I will leave those in the description. Maybe you saw the thumbnail and maybe you would prefer the colors to be inverted. Maybe you would prefer her scales to be green. Maybe you would prefer her hair to be green, and you would prefer all the other bits and bobs to be orange and red. It's up to you. Apply the colors however you see fit and whatever makes sense to you. Now, there are many different ways to approach water backgrounds like this. So I'm going for a more dappled effect today where I've just got light kind of filtering through everywhere. It's kind of moving in with her hair because her hair is just all over the place. It is floating up. I can just imagine, like when you sit at the bottom of a pool, if you do, and your hair just kind of blooms out everywhere. This is what's happening to her hair as well. And so I'm reflecting that kind of movement in with my color pencil placement too. Now, another way to approach this background is that you could have all of the edges of her hair you could have in the darker color, and you could work your way in. I have seen that done as well, whatever you like, or maybe you just want a solid color, that's fine too. Just be careful if you want to use alcohol markers, just bear in mind that they will bleed through the paper. So I would recommend something nice and light. You could try Neocolor as well. However, you might have a bit of a hard time getting the brush into all those little nooks and crannies, which was why I decided to opt out of the Neocolor today. It was my second option. I definitely probably wouldn't use Distress ink on this because I would be masking up that masking fluid for donkey's years. And I thought this was already a detailed page enough. Now, just so you know, this page actually took me 12 hours. So if you see a page like this and you're like, oh, yep, that'd take a couple of hours. No. So don't feel discouraged if this takes you longer than you anticipated. It's normal. It's totally fine. As well, another key for me to have confidence with pages like this is to just take my time, is to not rush it. This type of page certainly isn't a quick fix type of page. This is something where you're in it for a little bit longer, but it can become quite a meditative process, which I absolutely love about Kerby's pages. Now, when it comes to coloring books that have a story behind them or maybe a companion with them. So with Mythic World, there is all the folklore stories in the back, and there's the name of the subject as well and a little bit of a story. I actually like to research that, and it's the same thing in Fragile World. So he will put a bit of a description of the animal that is there, and you can look it up. So I like to look up these subjects if it's available. And I like to draw inspiration from the artwork that has been inspired by these mythical tales. Now, I did find a whole bunch on Pinterest, like I was saying before. I chose the one that I chose because there were so many elements that were similar. There was the hair, she was sitting on a rock, there was the fish, there was the greens. To me, I saw it and I'm like, yep, that's what I want to focus on. Now, just because you choose a reference photo, it doesn't mean that you're cheating. Just because you choose a reference photo does not mean that you're cheating by any stretch of the imagination whatsoever. So many sketch artists, so many colorists, so many artists across the board will use reference photos. In fact, it is so much easier because it's kind of impossible for our brains to envision what every single little detail on this page is going to look like. And when we're dealing with pages like this that have a lot of stuff going on, we really want to reduce the amount of decisions that we have to make. Decision fatigue can be a massive thing when it comes to detailed pages. So I'm going to try and reduce that as much as I can. And having a reference photo helps me draw inspiration and choose my own color choices and even pick colors that I wouldn't usually choose and choose combinations that I wouldn't usually choose. I am adding a light wash of green to certain segments. Now, this is because I kind of imagine she's in a little pond. She's not out in the open ocean. So I'm adding a little bit of like a mossy, very yellowy, browny green. Because I kind of want to give off the fact that, yes, she's in a bit of a pond. It's not completely murky. I do want some clarity here, but I'm just adding a wash of it, and it does just add a little bit of interest to that dappled effect that we've got going on. Now, looking back at it, I do know that by this point, because I've applied so many layers, I probably should have gone lighter with my pencil still because I am looking a bit streaky there, but it doesn't matter. I think no Kerby page is going to be perfect, and that's absolutely fine. So as much as I was a bit worried about it as I was laying it down, I'm not worrying about it now. And once I've seen the finished result, I'm not going to stress the small stuff. Or is it sweat the small stuff? I don't know. Lol. And I think too, so when I first thought of the background that I wanted to have, I had a rough idea. And like I said, I was using a reference photo, but a lot of the background I really just built as I was coloring it. Again, you're not going to make 100% of your decisions before you apply color to the page. So approaching it with a bit of creative freedom, approaching it with the knowledge that I will change things as I go, approaching things with more of a relaxed, let's see where this leads us approach, rather than I'm going to have everything nailed now and I can't deviate from my plan because that's bad news. Don't do that. This is your permission just to go in and have a play. Just have a play. As much as I believe that when approaching tough colouring pages, it is important to reduce that decision fatigue and reduce the amount of new decisions and new things that you are doing. We're not going to learn how to do new things unless we try new things, yeah? So we have to balance these things. We have to balance the new techniques with techniques we already know, new colour palettes with colour palettes that we already know. So at some point, we do have to dive in and try new things, whether that is in a practice book or whether that is in the book itself. That is really up to you. I have a practice book. If I'm trying new techniques, I will jump in that first. Sometimes I will try 2, 3, 4, 5 times before I'm ready to bring it in one of my quote unquote actual colouring books that I show on YouTube. So that is a little tip of mine that I love to use to build my confidence, because I'm not going to get everything perfect from the get-go. Things will need practice. And even this section here, even the little section on the left, see how that's looking scratchy? That's okay. And that's going to stay scratchy. Even after I burnished it, it was still scratchy. I'm fine with that. I'm kind of not, but I'm going to allow it. It's going to live there. It's fine. Because creativity is not perfect. Creativity is not in this nice little, little package bow and stuff. Like, it is raw. It is crazy. There are mistakes and all, and that is fine. And I kind of want to show you as well that, okay, like you might look at one of my Kerby pages and go, whoa, that's amazing. But if you look closely, there's always these little imperfections, and that's fine. That's what makes it what it is, doesn't it? And so I'm finishing off my last little layer of the background with my lightest color pencil. I'm kind of just blending and burnishing everything in. Now, you may have noticed as well that at the bottom of my picture, I've added more green in because I'm trying to give off a little bit of the illusion that there is more foliage and little bits and bobs behind the drawn leaves. It's almost like they're out of focus, but they're there. And a quick note with bubbles, just colour over them. It's fine. If you are going over them with white paint pen, it doesn't matter, which is what I'm doing. So I'm colouring over some and then I'm going around some. But majority, I'm going to colour over them because I'm just not going to worry about it. And if you've got pencils like Prismacolor pencils, they are the perfect type of pencil to play around with layering and mushing all your colours together. They are very forgiving. So if you're worried about just things looking awful and mushy, don't worry about it. You can always go back over it. You can always erase it if you don't like it. Do remember that pencil is erasable. If you've got a kneadable eraser, a putty eraser, you can get rid of a fair amount of it. Don't worry. It's just pencil. We can fix it. So don't be too scared about getting it perfect. Just go in and have a play. Again, refer to your practice book if you need to. Now, this colouring the scales and her fins was one of my favourite things. So what I'm doing here, I've just grabbed my reds and pinks and oranges. I'm not following any specific colour combination as such. I'm just starting with my darkest colours and I'm placing them on the outside and in underneath her hair and her bodice and things like that, just to create some depth, and around the edges of her tail there as well, just to start creating some shadows. And not sticking to strict colour combinations really helps me with my creative freedom. It helps me with my expression. It helps me to play around with different things. And overall, I feel just so much more relaxed and free when I'm just left to my own devices and I can just play around with the things and touch up things as I go. Now, for this particular element, I'm going from dark to light. I find I'm so much more comfortable going from dark to light. It's just how it is for me. If you're more comfortable going from light to dark, then by all means, go for that. There is no right or wrong way to place your pencils. Just do whatever makes most sense to you, whatever makes you feel most confident. Now, the key here is to apply light layers and build them up so that you can shift things around if you need to. If you find that you've accidentally placed a red where you didn't really want it doesn't matter too much because there's only a little bit and you can go over it with other colours and you can blend it extremely well. And then I start slowly building up with lighter colours of the same colour family. Again, I'm just placing colours and seeing how they go, seeing how they fit. And now I'm bringing in my oranges and I'm really liking this lovely bloom that the orange creates. It's giving off this fantastical, mythical vibe, which is actually what I'm going for because that's what we're colouring in, yeah? These are mythical creatures, so let's make them crazy colourful. And you can see too that I have areas where I'm placing the orange. I don't place the orange everywhere. I place it in sections. And then as I build my lighter oranges up, I'm going to match those lighter oranges with those existing orange sections so that I don't just have everything blended at once. You certainly can if you like that effect, but I like the idea of just having blocks of colour everywhere. And another thing that I like to do as well with complex mythical pages, and actually I think with any Kerby page, is that I always start with an element that I feel the most comfortable with. I certainly don't dive in and try and do all the tricky bits first because I'm just going to end up feeling more stressed. So I will just pick the bigger elements, the ones that I'm comfortable with. Perhaps it might be the one that you are most drawn to aesthetically. Maybe you really like the look of the fins and so you want to dive into that first. Just do that because we all need a bit of a warm-up. We can't just jump into a page and go, boom, yep, we're done, amazing, I'm totally in a creative flow from the get-go. Look at me go, I'm Superman, I'm Superwoman. Doesn't always happen that way. And so for me, I just need a bit of a warm-up. And for me, colouring these scales really just set me up for a win for the whole page. For the rest of the page, I was feeling good because I'd coloured this and I was just feeling so happy about it. Yeah, I've used yellow, this cream here, as like a joining colour for everything because it goes with everything. And I've added a little bit of blue for a little bit of reflection as well off the water. So just play around with different colours, play around with applying some dark browns as well. So dark browns go really well with oranges and reds because brown is pretty much dark orange anyway. So it just blends in nicely. And I'm just adding those to my shadow areas. And I'm just building up until I get the colours that I like and the depth that I like. Now, I have never coloured a face this tiny before, so I was having fun with playing around with the different areas where I was placing my shadows. I had to be very, very teeny tiny about it. Usually I'm used to working with like a Hannah Coles-on portrait, not a tiny little face. So all I've done is I've just applied my same colour placement, but just made it really, really tiny. And I wanted to go with a Brazilian skin tone for this as well because she is a Brazilian mythical creature and I really wanted to pay homage to that. And in a lot of the Pinterest images that I've seen, a lot of the Iara characters had red, like red warrior paint almost. I'm actually not quite sure what it symbolises, but I wanted to pay homage to that because I thought it was really cool. So rather than do red warrior paint over her eyes because I wanted to keep the contour of her cheeks because Kerby's actually drawn them so nicely, I end up just colouring her crown red and her lips red as well, just because I want to represent a lot of the folklore art that I'm seeing, because I think that's really important. For me, it's important to represent it, because it's part of the heritage, it's part of the story, it's part of the tales that people know and love. So yeah, I just wanted to add that in. And I think because, like I was saying, maybe I said it before, I can't remember, majority of the images that I've seen of this page coloured, she had fairer skin, maybe red hair, green hair. So I was like, oh, it's yeah, like it could be your traditional Little Mermaid or Little Mermaid gone rogue. So I really wanted to just stick as much to the tradition as I could. However, in Kerby's description, she had green hair, so maybe I haven't stuck to it as well as I could have. But anyway, One of the things that I have noticed here as well is we don't have a clear definition of where her scales end and when her skin starts. So I'm just trying to blend everything together as much as I can. And starting with this beautiful hair, which took me so long. So rather than blend and burnish, it might be a bit difficult to see with the time-lapse speed at the minute, but I'm actually just flicking the pencil to create different strands, and I start from dark and I work my way to light. Now I do have the hair combination in the description if you're after that. So all we do is we start with the black and we work our way up through the browns and we finish off with our beige color. Now I will be putting some hair tutorials up on the channel, which it will be real time. It'll be a spotlight tutorial, so I will do that with you. I like doing the little pencil flick method for hair opposed to blending and burnishing. That's just me. If you prefer to color hair another way, go for your life. It's all about what you find the most comfortable and what you enjoy the most and what makes most sense to you creatively. Now, often when I'm coloring hair, I'll do a little tester on an easier section first just to get the color distribution the way that I want and just to get used to it. And then I'll start branching out into the other areas. So you can see here, I've started with the crown of her head and I'm just working around her face and her body because I want to make sure that the hair tone that I have actually matches with what's going on. So as I'm coloring, I'm looking at her skin tone. I'm like, yep, I think it's matching. Yep, it's matching with her scales and everything pretty well. So I'm happy to keep going. I'm not worrying too much about pencil flicking and stuff around the flowers. It's just too intricate. It's just too hard. So just blend the colors as you normally would. And I like to leave a lot of highlight area for my lightest color because I like hair to look as liquid and as movie aroundy as possible. And the same thing, if you see any bubbles over her hair, just color over it. More often than not, you'll be able to see it after and you can just go over with your paint pen. Now, I should have said at the start, I do apologize for my voice today. I am recovering from a cold and I could have waited, but I really wanted to show you this page. I really wanted to color this page. So I thought, you know what? We're just going to dive in. We're just going to do it. So I do apologize if I sound quite scratchy and raspy. I'm feeling a bit like Barry White. I can get, I can get some very deep octaves going. No one wants to hear me sing for them though. We don't want that. Okay, so here is where I'm going in with the black behind all the little flowers. Now, don't worry if your eyes can't actually focus on all of this. Just color the bits that you can. The more that you color in, the more everything else is going to come into focus for you. So don't stress about figuring out how to do everything all at once. Just do the bits you can see. And I find that colouring in the background of the flowers actually just helps the flowers and the foliage come out into focus and I can see them easier. It doesn't just look like this whole myriad of random things. I feel a lot more confident to tackle it because it doesn't look as scary as it did at first. Because I'm just chipping away and chipping away at things and chipping away at elements until things are starting to come into view. And I'm just following the movement of her hair. So when it comes to light and dark placement, Kerby's already drawn a lot of that in for you, so you just follow it. So where his line art is darker is where you would apply your darkest colours, and where his line art is lighter is where I would generally leave my highlights. Now, it's not always the case, but it's a loose rule that I like to follow because, again, it just helps me not having to try and figure it out for myself. He's already there. He's already helping us. Which I find that to be true of many illustrators, is that they will already help you and give you prompts. Whether it's on purpose, whether it's a subconscious thing, their artwork is already paving the way for us, which is great. And when you're colouring hair, it's always important to maintain a sharp point. So with Prismacolors, they do lose their point pretty quickly. So it's probably not my first recommendation for colouring with hair, Prismas, but if it's all we have, it's all we have. You could use polychromos for this. So if you have more than one pencil brand, by all means, colour the page in with different pencil brands, depending on what you're colouring, depending on the element. If that makes it easy for you, if that makes things feel less stressful, then go for it. You certainly don't have to be limited to one pencil brand. I tend to stick to one pencil brand because it just makes it easier in the videos. And it makes it easier to list the color combinations, and it makes it easier for people to follow along. But if you're just coloring this page for yourself, then by all means, just use as many different pencil brands as you like. Now, while we are finishing off this hair, let me read to you the description that Kerby has on the back in this book of Iara. So, in Brazilian folklore, Iara is a siren who lures men into the water with her irresistible song and beauty. According to legend, she was once a fierce and highly skilled warrior, something which made her two brothers deeply envious. The brothers plotted to kill Iara, but she discovered their plan and killed them first in defense. Fleeing through the forest, she was hunted down by her father, who threw her into the river in the Amazon. The river fish saved her and transformed her into an immortal sea creature. Today, the river is said to be her home. She sits on a rock and sings, brushing her green, flower-adorned hair and attracting the attention of male passerby before dragging them into the depths of the river. When I read this, I was like, oh, green hair. Oh, whoops. I have a really great green combination. However, looking at this now and looking at my completed page, I'm so glad that I didn't choose green hair because I've got so many elements on this page are already green. So all my greenery, all my leaves, it's already green. If I had have had green hair and green leaves and sea bibbidi-bobbidis, everything would have been lost. My eye would have not have known what to look at on the completed image, especially because a lot of the foliage is in her hair too. And so by keeping it brown, I'm actually, as you'll see as I build it, I'm actually keeping the contrast, and I'm actually keeping the interest and the detail to the page, and it's kind of keeps it organized so nothing gets lost. Every element stands out on its own, and it helps it look harmonious and complete. Sometimes we need to be careful how we lay our colors. We need to be careful of what colors we place next to each other. So if you place colors next to each other in different elements that are too similar, they won't stand out and we won't know what we're looking at, especially when it comes to detailed pages like this. We do have to consider color placement. As a general rule of thumb, if you have a color wheel, if you don't actually have one in your hands, maybe just Google one, and you can see how there's colors on opposite ends of the spectrum and how different they are, but the more opposite they are, the more harmonious they go together. So if you can see there, I've got the blue and then we've got the brown of her hair. So see how the blue of the water and the brown of her hair, like it contrasts so much, but it looks really good because it's so different. So that's what we want. But if you wanted for her to have green hair and then keep your foliage the same, maybe have her green hair a completely different hue. So her hair might be a bluey green, and then you might have the foliage to be more of a yellow green. So at least it's going to stand out because you don't want things looking too similar. Yeah, because otherwise we'll just lose it. And it's like, where are we? I don't know. I absolutely love colouring hair. I love seeing all the beautiful layers come to life. And all I'm doing with the hair colours is as I move up through the shades, so as I move up from darkest to lightest, I'm bringing the colours out further. But see how they're not all in a straight line either. See how I'm overlapping some colours over other bits, so there's not these whole white gaps. I've got these overlaps, and if you go into the bathroom, any mirror, look at your own hair and observe how the light catches it, and you'll see that as well, you don't have these like blocks of highlight color. See how it all like weaves in with each other, and every strand of hair kind of plays with the light a little bit differently. So I'm trying to mimic that effect by changing the distance of my hair strokes. Now, again, I will have a dedicated how to color hair spotlight tutorial because it is best shown at a slower speed. But you might pick up a few tips and tricks, and even just looking at what I'm doing now as like a visual cue can help as well. Now, this was a little bit of a challenge to do Because not only is the hair wavy and curly, but it's also a bit wiggly. See how some of the bits are wiggly? It doesn't move in this neat spiral or this neat kind of curve. It's like blah, 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 blah. And so we have to factor that in as well. So I certainly had to change direction of the pencil many times to try and factor that in. But again, when there was areas that were too wiggly and I found it really hard to like contour, I just did the best I could. That's what makes things beautiful as well. So not having everything perfectly uniform and perfectly highlighted, it doesn't have to be. Just do what you can with what you have. Nail the highlights in one area, but don't worry about if there's some areas where you don't nail it. I don't nail it all the time. And I really like the results of the hair colours. I mean, look at all that we have to factor in. Look at all of the flowers, look at all of the leaves, all of the bubbles, all of the elements, all of the wiggly bits in her hair. We've got so much to factor in. So, of course, it's not going to be perfect. There is beauty in chaos. There is beauty in unevenness. There is beauty in randomness. So just do your best and just, I suppose, just allow the way that Kerby's drawn things to bring out your pencil work as well. Just allow his design to be the hero, and all you're doing with your pencil work is you're enhancing what he's already drawn. And I think having this approach just really takes the pressure off. It takes the pressure off just having to make something look perfectly shaded, because he's done so much work with all his cross-hatching and all his shading and all of his detail. So if you just want to apply some block colours, that's fine. It's going to look amazing. So when it comes to brown hair, or any hair colour really, you can have many different tones. So with browns, you can have a very goldy tone, or a reddy tone, or like an ashy tone, a grey tone, which are kind of the same thing. So I've chosen for a reddy brown tone because it's already represented in her skin and in her scales as well. So I'm linking those together, and I'm not copying them and linking them together so much that it's hard to tell what from what, because obviously you look at the scales and her hair and they're completely different colours, but they're both warmer colours. They both kind of match the orange theme. And I'm just adding in that beige for those highlights. Now, you don't have to use beige. I just wanted to use beige because, again, I've used it on her skin. So I wanted to add that in there. You could add a cool grey, a white, if you want to. And I think it's worth noting too that sometimes with Prismacolor, especially when you're applying your layers very heavily, or they do build up over time and therefore become quite thick and heavy after you've applied all those layers, you will see a bit of a waxy bloom, because Prismacolors are wax-based. I certainly find that it comes out in my darker colours, especially my reds and browns. And now starting with my fins. So all I'm doing is I'm picking up the same oranges from the scales. I'm picking up the darkest colours and I'm going in where the darkest shaded areas are. And going in on the shape where I think there would naturally be some shadows. Again, don't worry too much about contouring if it's something that it just freaks you out. Just don't worry about it. If it's not something that you're ready to do, don't worry. You can just apply colour however you see fit. I quite enjoy contouring, so I'm just going at it because that's what I love to do. And I'm just bringing the colour forward. Now, notice how I'm not just going in one direction with the colour. I'm going in multiple directions. So I'm not just having a flat gradient that's just going from right to left. I'm moving it in all areas because we're underwater. I'm just trying to play to the movement aspect of the whole thing. So we've got movement in the background. Her hair's moving around. Kerby has drawn her fins and her tail with movement. The little eely fish things, her little sidekicks, have movement to them. So I'm kind of reflecting that in my pencil placement too. So I'm just moving things around. sometimes you won't know where you want to apply your darkest and your lightest shade. You don't know how it's going to look. If that's the case, just start with a dark color. Start where you can see Kerby has put his darkest lines and just start playing. Just start applying the color, see where the pencil takes you, see where your brain takes you, and just let it unfold. You certainly don't have to have a perfect plan for every element as you color it. I often don't. I often just approach it and go, I'm going to start here and we'll see where we go. And for me, often that is the most enjoyable part of the picture, is just the sheer mystery, the sheer unknown of how things are going to turn out. And I've produced some of my favorite pieces with this approach. I find for me personally that if I approach things with too much of a plan and too much structure, that I end up just bombing out and my perfectionist brain takes over and I just end up with a lot of frustration. And again, you don't have to have this perfectly contoured. In a world where a lot of images are up on Pinterest, a lot of images are up on Instagram, we look at these perfectly curated pictures, which are often coloured by artists who have an insane level of skill. And we think that we have to measure up. You don't. If you want to apply just a single colour to the fins, go for it. If you want to use a medium other than pencil, go for it. It doesn't have to be perfectly contoured. It doesn't have to be perfectly shaded. Just go with what you are feeling at the time. Go with what you feel like the page needs and what you have the means to do so with, if that makes sense. So don't colour out of your means. Don't try and do something that you just mentally don't have capacity for, or you're just having a day and you're like, you know what? Today has just been a day. It has been a minute. So therefore, I'm just going to whack some colour down. Just do that. Because that is where creative confidence comes from. It's not trying to compare yourself to other people. It's not trying to do the most amazing thing every time. I know for me, I really struggle with trying to out-compete myself with every page and outdo myself. It's like, I don't know, if you're a runner and you're trying to get you're trying to beat your time every single time and you're trying to improve every single time. You're not going to. Not all pages are linear in terms of their skill level and technique and things like that. So I think one of the key things for me when it comes to approaching Kerby's pages without fear and approaching mythical pages without fear and having creative confidence is just removing the pressure to just up myself on since the last page. So removing the pressure just to win again and beat myself from last time. It doesn't matter. There are 80 to 90 pages per colouring book, and I have about 40 colouring books. So I'm not going to go crazy and just beat myself every single time. There is no competition. I know that we feel like there is, and subconsciously we deal with it, and sometimes it can be quite painful. But I think just giving yourself permission to play and giving yourself permission to try new things is really important. And like I was saying before, I think when it comes to new pages, I think it's really important not to go too gung-ho too soon and try all these new things, because that can stress us out a little bit. But at some point, you're going to have to try something new. At some point, you're going to have to try a new technique. And whether that's straight in the colouring book or in a practice page, if we want to grow, at some point, we're going to have to just jump off the ledge a little bit. And I think picking those days is important and being wise about it. Like I was just saying, it doesn't have to be every single day that you try something new. So this particular leaf combination, I don't think I've ever tried that before. So I'm trying it today and I'm like, oh, I really like this. And I've tried it today because I'm in the mood for it. There's other days where I have looked at this combination and I've just gone, absolutely not, and I've left it. So don't worry too much if there's days where you just don't want to try new things. But if you want to grow, and if you want to grow in your confidence, It's really important to have a crack and don't worry about getting it wrong because again, it's just pencil. It's just, oh, and I don't want to limit any type of art to being just art, but it really is. Not everything's going to fall apart around you if you try a combination and it doesn't work out. I know that we can sometimes feel that because there is this subconscious level, as we were discussing before, because there is so many amazing pictures out there on Instagram. We have this, I need to do it to this level. You absolutely don't. So don't worry if you try something and it looks horrible. Don't worry about it. Just keep practicing. You'll get it. There's things for me, mediums that I've tried them 50 times and they still look horrible, but I will keep trying. I will keep playing around with them. And the reason why I do that is because I don't want my colouring to be stagnant. I don't want it to stay the same all the time because if I never branched out because of how afraid I was or about how worried about how bad it was going to look, I wouldn't improve and I wouldn't try new things. All my combinations would be the same. All my colour palettes would be the same. I'd probably not enjoy myself as much because I would feel like I was stuck in a rut. So I do try and branch out where I can. Now, it doesn't always have to be in leaps and bounds. For you, it might just be, I'm going to try this new colour combination today, like I just did with those leaves. It could be as small as that. It doesn't have to be a huge creative leap and, one small step for man. Like it doesn't have to be like, you're landing on the moon. It could be you're trying a new flavour of ice cream for the first time. Same as simple as that. Because you never know when your new favourite colour combination or your new favourite technique is going to be around the corner. You never know. You might discover a whole new world that's going to unlock your creativity tomorrow or now or in 2 weeks. You're never going to know, so you may as well try. Now, with these little bubbity things at the bottom there, I'm going to leave those for gel pen. I generally don't apply my gel pen until a lot of the element work is done, just because I'll be going back and forth over it and I don't want to end up like a glitter pixie with glitter all over my hands. Those little sticky things remind me of the swirly potato things that you get at fairs and fetes and stuff like that. I'm in the mood for potato, which I always am, but I'm really in the mood for potato when I'm looking at these. I'm bringing out a lot of blue greens because that was represented in the reference picture that I'm following. And also they go really nicely with the reds and the oranges and the brown hair. And they're just one of my favourites. I really like them. And I really like combining, especially with the Prismacolors, I really like combining different types of green, even greens from opposite ends of the spectrum. So I love combining blue greens with yellow greens because you can get some really funky outcomes. And I've really got no set direction when it comes to the shading. I'm just treating every individual leaf as its own thing. And I'm just shading it where I think looks good on the leaf. Again, I'm just trying to play into that dappled effect, that rippled underwater effect. I might save very uniform or very similar gradients for a picture that calls for it. So say if there's like a flat lay, like a mandala, or if I've got this bouquet of flowers and they're all kind of sitting in the one direction, facing the same direction, that's when I might keep my shading the same. But for stuff like this where everything's everywhere, I don't. I like to change it up. It keeps it fun, it keeps it interesting, it keeps the creative juice flowing. And again, all of these green colours are in the description. Now the challenge is grab all the colours and play with different combinations. See what you can come up with. Start with the darker colours and work your way to light. The smaller the leaf is, the less opportunity for colour that you'll have. So try and go your darkest and then your lightest. See how you go. See if you can come up with any new combinations that you haven't tried before. Okay, so moving on to all the foliage and the leaves and all the bits and bobs that are in her hair. So what I'm doing is I'm bringing all of the green that I've already used and the combinations that I've already used over into this section, because what I'm doing is I'm trying to form a relationship between the different elements on the page without them looking too muddy and messy, because it helps tie in every element of the page. It can be a bit of a balance. Sometimes if I were to go too heavy on it, then things just get lost. But I feel that the way that Kerby has drawn this, it's already drawn in a balanced way. So I feel confident that I can apply my green colours without things getting lost. And notice as well how I'm mixing up my green colours too. Some is true green, some is blue green, and then I'm putting them next to each other. See how I'm putting the peacock colours next to the bright greens? And I'm mixing up the shading. Some I'm shading, some I'm not. And I think when you've got this much detail, don't worry too much about shading if it's too hard for you to shade things that small. Just colour them in one colour. It's going to look good anyway because there is that much on there. Rather than colouring each cluster, I'm just going through and I'm picking out all the leaves first, because this is going to help me just reduce the amount of decisions that I need to make. It helps me focus. And it also helps bring into focus some of the other elements. So it's helping me look at the flowers and think, okay, they're not as overwhelming as I thought. And yes, I missed some leaves, but that's going to happen because, again, there is so much there. So that is the beauty of just chipping your way through, is that eventually all of these things will be brought to light and all of these things will be brought forward to you. And I've also chosen the green because it just stands out so nicely against her brown hair. And similarly for these flowers, I'm just using all the colours that I've used in her scales. I'm mainly focusing on the pinks, less on the oranges. There will be a smattering of orange in there, but because I've already got orange in her hair, and there's a lot of it featured on her fins and on her ear, little fin thing there too, I don't want to overdo it because then the page is going to look too orange because there's already orange everywhere. If I had focused on, say, pink fins and pink highlights in her hair, then I would have had orange flowers because I'm trying to balance everything together. I don't want there to be too much of one thing because then it's going to be hard to separate all the details and you kind of won't see them. And with something this complicated, you kind of need to see them. Otherwise, it's like, what am I looking at? And I'm trying to just place the colours evenly. I'm trying to place light colours next to dark colours. I'm bringing in a few colour gradients for the bigger elements, but for the tinier ones, I'm generally just leaving in one colour. And I'm saving some space for some gel pen as well because I know that I will bring in a couple of pens like I always do. And the other reason why I'm really happy that I've gone with the brown hair again is because the pink also contrasts very well against the brown. I think if I'd gone with green hair, I would have had to think harder about what colour to make all the foliage. It's kind of why it's really handy also for a reference picture because it's going to help you make those decisions. Now, as you'll see, in general, I start from right and work my way left because I obviously am left-handed. but you might decide to go the other way if you're right-handed, or if you actually just have a general direction that you like to go in, just do that. I often go right to left because I do smudge on my left hand, which I always have. I have found with this particular image, not so much. So I'm happy to, even though in general I'm going from right to left, I'm happy just to move over things where I need to and move back and forth, which is going to happen anyway because I like to pick up different colors, and I might think, oh, I want to make something orange, but I'm not going to get to that yet. I'll do it in a minute because, I've got the one pencil in my hand, and I'll try and just have the one pencil and then just color different areas with the same pencil so that I'm not constantly picking up and putting down. I'm just trying to reduce the amount of manual picking up, putting down, changing, sharpening, doing this, because it's going to take forever. So just, yeah, I'm kind of, as I'm coloring things, I'm scanning other areas to see what could also be the same color. And see how as well, so yes, I am starting to have a couple of orange elements, but it's just a couple. I would definitely say that pink is the main floral color that we have in her hair. And it stands out really nicely against the green. And I like to bring in a few shimmery bits. Why not? I'm being strategic about which things I select for gel pen. If I were to colour something in that had all of this little detail, say if it was a flower with a lot of layered leaves, I wouldn't choose it because the gel pen ink is just going to sit over the top and look a bit globby. So I'm trying to pick smaller things that once gel pen is applied, it's still going to retain some detail. But if that decision is too far ahead for you, just don't even worry about it. Focus on what's important for you at the moment. Focus on, I suppose, those problem areas and making them easier. Again, we're trying to reduce that decision load and we're trying to avoid decision fatigue where we can. And I really like how those little orange flowers look against the water. They're just contrasting so well. So I'm tying in the orange that's already on the page and just giving hints of it elsewhere. And I'm trying to bring in a bit more red into her necklace. So again, just trying to pay homage to the red markings that I've seen on her skin in a lot of the artistic depictions. I'll have to research what it is. It certainly must be there for a reason. Maybe it's because of the warrior background. Again, you can see that wax bloom from the Prismacolor pencils kind of coming through. See how it kind of looks a bit shiny and like it's reflecting my light? You might not get that as much with other pencil brands, but it's certainly with wax-based pencils. I'm keeping the gel pen to those smaller areas, to those less detailed areas, just so I don't have things looking too gunky. I'm already looking at the flower that's kind of above her ear that has that huge shimmery center, and I'm like, don't know, but I've done it now, it doesn't matter. I don't know about you, but I find roses really hard to shade because there's so many layers. And you can see a couple of flowers there. I've combined pink and orange together. So this is helping keep the orange still in there, but it's helping things not be like stark orange as well. So play around with combining different color groups. And here we go with the not potato plants. I absolutely love this pen. This is the Pentel Hybrid Dual Metallic or Pentel Dual Hybrid Metallic. I can't remember. It's a pen that looks different when you apply it to white paper and black paper. And I really like the green ink and blue sparkle. It fits really well with what I'm trying to achieve. Now, with these tiny little fish, I was staring at them for ages going, what do I do? So I'm going to keep them orange because, again, they're matching in with the theme and they're not too big that they're going to start detracting from the center as well. And I did color one pink and orange as well. I'm just trying to blend them into all the bits and bobs that we've got going on in her hair there. Now, these little eely things, again, I had a look at some of the fish that were in the reference photo that I have. You know how sometimes fish just have this, they can look grey, but they've kind of got these pastel-y bits of colour to them as well? That's what I'm trying to do. So I'm just taking some mid colours and some dark colours and I'm just placing them around the edge and I'm just shading where I can. I'm looking at my reference photo and I'm just doing the best to go, oh yeah, that colour's there. Well, I'm going to place that there. And I'm just going to work my way in. I'm not pressing too hard. I'm just playing around. And again, I'm using colours that I already have. So I'm not picking up anything new. So I'm trying to keep everything harmonised and I'm trying not to use too much orange in them again because they aren't already next to a very large orange element, as you can see. So I'm trying to not overcrowd the orange. And I'm trying not to overcrowd the blue-green either. So to me, it makes sense just to add some of the red and muted greens and maybe a smattering of the blue-green just for some shading and a little bit of orange just for some shading as well. I've certainly never coloured fish like this and I really enjoyed the process. Usually I'll colour fish with a colour gradient because I like them to look quite bright and vibrant. But I'm really liking the way these little guys look. They're like eely fish. I don't know. With underwater scenes, we often have light and colour bouncing around everywhere. So I think having them with different colours on them kind of helps pay tribute to that and helps them look a bit iridescent in a way. It's like a flat iridescent kind of colour. And I really like blending opposing colours too. And again, these fish were just something that I just built up. So I was just looking at my reference photos and I was just playing with it and building it up over time. I wasn't pressing too heavy. I was really happy with the result. And I kind of liked how muted they look because everything else is so bright and colourful. I wanted these to look a little bit different, but not so different that they look like they just belonged in a completely different picture, but just something a little bit different. Okay, now when it comes to this rock, I'm just playing around with it too. So I've actually just picked the darkest brown that I've already used in her hair. And I'm just creating some shadows where her tail is sitting over. Now, I'm not colouring each rock facade. Notice how I'm just shading areas and I'm letting Kerby's detail do the talking. Sometimes when I colour rocks, I might I might follow each individual facet, but for this I'm not because I'm going for a dappled effect. I'm going for a rock colour that's like, hey, I'm underwater. I'm a rock. I could be coral, but I'm covered in moss. I'm covered in bits. I'm shady. That kind of thing. So I'm adding in some of that orangey brown, reddy brown colour just to pay homage to the different oranges that are in the picture. But then I start adding this muted green because it just ties in with both of those so well. It ties in with the brown really well, ties in with the orange. It's contrasting too. And it gives off this whimsical, like this fantastical vibe. And hey, I'm covered in moss. I'm under the sea. Because a lot of things are. Like if you look at under the water photos, a lot of things are dappled like this. They have a lot of browns, a lot of greens and this and that. And then I'm tying it all off with the beige that I've used in her hair. So again, using colours that I already have. And now I'm completing all the bubbles with a Tooly Art paint pen. This is my favourite part. I love going through and just adding in all the bubbles. And I'm just picking the ones that I can see I usually just go from right to left because I don't want to smudge things while it's drying, and then I find that I've got to go back over 2 or 3 times because I start noticing all the other bubbles. And I know that there is a bunch that I've coloured over, so I'm doing my best to find those, but I'm not too worried about it either. I love colouring the bubbles. You don't have to use white. You could use whatever colour you like. I just like using white because it's just a favourite of mine. Guys, thank you so much for joining me in today's video. I hope you have picked up some little tips and tricks on how to approach Kirby pages without fear. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye for now.